to review and to hear a little bit about the things we do and the things we see in the market. It was very important for us to have this session and to share our knowledge and experience with you. Before we begin, Deidre, would it be possible to allow me to share the screen, because I couldn't do it?
Sure.
Thank you.
You should be good now.
Okay, let's give it a try. Ah, perfect. One moment. Okay, can you see my screen?
Make it full screen.
It was supposed to be full screen. One moment.
There you go.
How about now?
You're good, Ronan.
Ah, perfect. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, and can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Deidre mentioned, my name is Ronan Mikdashi. I'm the company's VP Sales and Business Development. I've been to the cyber market. Every time I say that, I feel so old, but I've been to the market for 11 years now. Sorry, 21 years. 21 years, much more than I should have been. But with 11 years of experience from the Army and from the Israeli Defense Forces, Secret Services, and so on. And it was important for me to share it with you, because what we're doing right now is practically taking all the knowledge, and not only myself, but also the CEO and the founder, Mr. Hasson, who unfortunately could not attend today, but also himself and many of our employees are actually veterans of the Israeli Intelligence Corps, from the Mossad, from the Army, things that you read about in the news, but never know whether it's true or not. So those are the people that bring a lot of experience, both as defense operators, but also as the offense part of cybersecurity. So a bit about CYBERGYM. CYBERGYM, we were founded 7 years ago, more than 7 years ago. We actually celebrated 7 years half a year ago, and right before the COVID-19 has started. The concept, we are owned today by the Israeli Electric Corporate, that is actually the largest corporate in Israel and the major power generator in Israel. But it is also one of the organizations that is the most of the highly attacked organizations in the world. And that is an advantage for us, because on one hand, they are very strong shareholders, but on the other hand, they are also one of our biggest customers, bringing, I would call it like a good arena to train and to learn how the hackers think when they attack systems, and what are the most common and the most up-to-date attack scenarios that exist today in the market. A bit about what we do is actually we take we have an understanding which is that the customers, we know that customers are doing a tremendous job in securing their system. They invest a lot in the technology, they invest a lot of resources on creating the policies and the procedures, and they also invest a lot of resources on developing the skills and the capabilities of their people in the organization. We take this, as you will see later on in the next slides, we take these capabilities of the people and we elevate them to, I call it, I'm an engineer, so I call it a quantum leap. We create the quantum leap in these capabilities, taking them from the good level that they are to the next level, and I will show you later on how. A bit about our clients. So most of our clients come from the government institutions, such as the government of Victoria in Australia, the Israeli Security Agency, and so on. Technology partners such as Microsoft, Hitachi, Checkpoint, and others. Power generation companies such as Con Edison. Con Edison is the largest power company in the tri-state area, in the east coast of the US. And also Hydro-Quebec, the largest power company in Canada, and others. And also companies from the financial institutions, financial sectors, the Poalim Bank in Israel, Discount Bank, the International Bank, and others are all of our customers. So again, we spoke about it earlier, but I want to repeat it again. Looking at the numbers, in the last 5 years, the hackers became more motivated and more capable in creating cyber attacks. Why? Let's just take numbers. In the last 5 years, the number of ransomware attacks in the world has multiplied by 15 since 2015. This is a tremendous growth. And now with the COVID-19, we also see that this momentum and this motivation even further grows. People, hackers are sitting at home. They're looking for ways to increase their revenues and to generate salary, as I would call it. And that's the easiest way for them. So the motivation only grows stronger. On the other hand, their capabilities also improve because, with the dark web, any hacker, which is just a very basic preliminary hacker, can go online, buy one of the attack tools that exist, and use them in order to attack one of the organizations. It became as simple as that. Now, with the motivation and with the capabilities, the customers, the users, have to defend themselves again against the evolving capabilities of the hackers. How do you do it? So one might say, listen, if the number of attacks and the capabilities has multiplied by 15, I will also increase my investments in cyber by 15. It doesn't work that way because the resources of IT systems is limited. IT investment in cyber grows by 6% every year, more or less, in average. It could never reach it could never win the race of the growth of the number of attacks by 15, as we said. So how do you compete with that? You need to look for solutions who are out-of-the-box solutions that will increase your capabilities of the users, increase the capabilities of the defenders without having to invest the endless resources. Now, when you look at investment, as we spoke earlier, the companies invest in technology, in policies and procedures, and in people. The way of thinking, the state of mind in our organization is that as we see that 90% of the future, 90% of the cyber incident in the world are caused by someone inside, by a person inside the organization, made us understand that if we focus on those people in the organization, we practically solve many of the issues that the organization has in terms of cyber. Now, again, I know that all the organization already invest in training and cyber education of their employees. How are we different? We are different in two major aspects. First of all, we deploy something that we actually learned from the army. And I keep saying it to people I know. I was 7 years in the army, and I keep telling people that I haven't heard not even of one army that has won a war just because his soldiers. Thank you. Just because his soldiers saw PowerPoint slides on how to shoot or how to fight. You need to take your soldiers, give them the academic education, but also train them in a live environment, in a live combat with bullets flying over their heads. This is the best way to improve the skills of your team. Just for you to know, in the army, before I even started joining a combat, I think I shot something like 10,000 bullets before even doing something real, before even going to becoming operational. Now, that's what we deployed in our company. We practically built an environment which is off-site environment, disconnected from the operational environment of the customer, but we replicated all the operational environment that he has in his own facility, and we use it and we attack this environment in real life scenarios with live hackers, and we just train the customer how to identify such an attack and how to respond to it when it happens. If we talk about power generation companies, for example, in our facilities, we have, as you can see in the photo, in the slide that we're seeing, for the power generation, we have in the back, we have the, one moment, let me see if I can show you there it is. We have in the back you cannot see my marker. I'm sorry about that. One moment. There it is. There it is. Perfect. So what you see in the back, this is one of our arenas. For the power generation, we have all the distribution system that exists exactly as the customer has in his own facility. We have all the controllers similar to what the customer has, whether it's a Siemens, General Electric, Motorola, ABB, and so on. Everything is installed in our facility. We have the HMI. You cannot see it in here, but we have the HMI, the user machine interface, the user machine interface of the power generation companies. We have the operational systems. We have the pipelines, the turbines, the generators, everything behind this gentleman in the left that exists exactly as exists within the customer. And this is the system that we attack and we train the customer when it comes into our facility. We have similar environments for power, not only for power generation. We have for oil and gas, transportation, railroad operators, airports, banks, governments, healthcare institutions, hospitals, for example, insurance companies, and so on. We have the different sectors in each and every facility that we can train our customers when they come in. So that's the first advantage. The second one is that we cover the whole organization and the whole roles in the organization itself. Usually, cyber education focuses on the IT experts, the cyber experts, SOC analysts, and so on. We understand that when attack comes in, it might come from any role in the organization. It could be the secretary, the CEO, or anyone in the middle. And it will have to be handled not only by the IT experts and the cyber experts or the SOC analysts, but also by the operational teams and the operational engineers who will have to see the implications on the operational system that they are monitoring and in charge of. That's why we have trainings tailored for executive management, CEO level, to help them understand how to confront and how to deal with an attack when it comes. What should they report to the media? When should they report to the media? Who should be involved in the red team to solve this problem, and so on. We also have general awareness training programs for all the employees that will need to understand that if they receive a USB key, which seems innocent and free of, complimentary, free of charge, it might be a risk, and it might include a virus when you put it in the system. And we also have technical training programs for the experts, for SOC analysts, for incident response teams, for the operational teams, the OT, SCADA engineers, and also the IT experts of financial systems, and so Swift managers, and so on. So I will not go too much into the details, but as I said, the training cover all the organization, and they're tailored to each and every sector in the within the customer market. Okay, we spoke about the real life experience, the red versus blue. We hold in every training, we hold a hacker that sits next to the customers and attacks the system systems in reality, in a real life environment, because it is one of the major goals of the training is to help the users understand how the hacker thinks when he attacks a system. What would be his entrance points? What would he be doing as a preliminary stages to identify the weaknesses, the exploits that he will take advantage of, and so on. So it's very important for us that they will sit and they will see how the hackers think when they attack their own systems. One thing which is important, look, the VP of the CTO of IBM once said something very smart. He said, listen, hackers share knowledge in the dark web with all the IRC channels that they're using in order to share knowledge and so on. So why aren't we, as the users, as the defenders, as the people, the innocent people who just want to protect the system, why don't we share our knowledge like the hackers do? And that's something which is, you know, stuck into my head, and we insist on doing it as much as we can. We build a network of arenas and customers worldwide, starting from Australia, Japan, Tel Aviv, South Africa, East Europe, West Europe, the US, and etc. And we share knowledge with our customers. I always believe that when an attack that happens in Australia will most likely happen in Europe a week after, and will most likely will happen in the US a week before even. And we need to understand what are the common attacks in the market, what is happening in each sector, and how do we defend against it. We constantly update the attack databases that we have, from the basic, you know, the old ones, the Stuxnets, for example, all the way to the new ones that are evolving the whole time, even the ones that we saw happening during the COVID-19. We analyze the attack scenarios, we do the reverse engineering, and then we deploy it in the training so the users will be trained on the most up-to-date and the most relevant attack scenarios that are common in the market and relevant for their sector. Okay, we spoke about this already. No, I don't want to repeat it. A bit about the training portfolio. Again, Kevin will talk about it later on, but a bit about our portfolio. We have as I said, we have training portfolio for the technical team, for SOC analysts, forensics, incident response teams, but we also have less technical sessions such as the cyber basics, executive management training, and so on, all to fit and tailor to the knowledge level and the capabilities of each and every role in the organization. So, supporting this whole training portfolio and training capabilities, we build proprietary with intellectual property systems that manage the whole process of the training and give the best performance and the best capabilities to monitor the skills and the capabilities of each one of the trainees to make sure that he got the most out of the training and he has the basic skills that you were supposed to get during the training. Kevin will show it to you in a few minutes in a much more detailed manner. So you will see in a live demo how it looks like. I will not go into all those details. No, I will just skip this ones. Kevin, I think that if that's okay by you, maybe you can just start the demonstration and show them how it looks.
Yep. Yeah, I'll give a tour of the New York City arena so they can understand how that works, and then I will go into more of how Optimus, Chaos, and Tactus works in that environment. Adri, can you make me a presenter?
You're good.
All right. All right, so everyone should see my screen right now. What I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through. So as Ronan giving you the background of who CYBERGYM is, our training capabilities, how we're built on. What I'm going to touch a little bit more now is, right, so as individual people, you're kind of wondering, you know, how do I get started in a career in cybersecurity, right? How do I move from, you know, web design, help desk, server administrator, and get a career going in this way? And even if you're from an organization standpoint, maybe you're thinking about how do I get a team started up to prevent attacks from happening, or necessarily prevent them, but also if they happen, have a qualified team that can mitigate them, right? So I'm going to show you a little tour of our New York City arena. This is one of our worldwide cyber warfare arenas, just as Ronan was showing you on the map. This is what ties together all the arenas globally, right? So as he was saying, if an attack happens in Australia or in Israel, it gets loaded into the system. All the arenas are tied together that way. So now this is a physical arena in New York City, but as we're talking about the training for the region and the Caribbean, right, we're talking more and more about our virtual arena. So what I'm going to do is when I'm showing these rooms, I'm going to talk to you how they work, and then I'm also going to talk to you about how that works in the virtual arena, right? So you'll see, and you can understand a little bit better of how a student experience would work in this case here. So I'm just going to play this through a little bit. I'm going to pause it at different parts. I'm going to talk. If the music does pop in the background, great, but we don't really need it. All right. Could have fast forwarded there. All right, so this is, the New York City office is about 4,000 square feet. It has a couple different rooms in it, right? But so this here is the training. It's a classroom, right? We call it the training workshop. Sometimes we refer to it as the white room. But what this is where the students are in there. You can see the students are looking there up in the front there. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not on it, but Ori is the head of our white team. So the one thing that Ronan was telling you about with his experience and our co-founder's experience, but also into our white team and red team that are working for us, they come from the Israeli Defense Forces as well. So these guys have experience, military defense units, Mossad. They've done hacking for government, and then they've done it for businesses when they got out of the military, and now they're working with us at CYBERGYM. So Ori, who's at the front of the classroom here, is the head of our white team, and what the white team is they're kind of your proctor, your instructor, right? They lead the training sessions, and Ronan had shown you Optimus real quick, but from a business standpoint, right? So if anybody's here that's attending today is thinking it's more from training their employees, when we put together a training program for you, it's a fit for your organization. He's the one that works with you after I'm done talking with you, figuring everything out. He then talks to you and gets into what your tools and technologies you're using within your organization. What are your current cyber policies and procedures? So when we're doing these type of training events, we can bring that in there. So it's the most realistic environment for the student outside of your office, right? Plus, you're also testing the policies and procedures. So like another class that we have, as Ronan briefly mentioned, was our cyber executives, right? So for your C-level, creating a cyber strategy or cyber crisis management policy for the organization. So if and when an attack happens, who's in charge? What do you say to the media? What do you say to your employees? What do you say to your investors if you have any? What do you say to the government if you have to, right? So all those things get put in there, and then when they're in the training, those all get tested. So in the white room here, or the classroom, what they're doing is Ori is going to instruct them, right? It's going to be a lecture style classroom, going to go over some different things that are relevant for the class. Hacker's point of view is a big one that they learn in one of the early classes, right? It's to get into that hacker mindset of how they think and how they move throughout an organization. They're going to go over relevant case studies in here for the classes that they're doing. What has happened in the industry, what has happened in the real world, so they can bring it into this learning environment. The other thing of what they're going to do is simulation-based exercises. Right now, I know as we started talking about this, what makes CYBERGYM unique is the emulation-based exercises, and it does. But the simulated exercises is what kind of levels the playing field of while the students are in here. So whether you're individuals coming through, as probably many of you are on this call today, or if it's specific to company, government organizations, right, you're going to go through the same style. But when you're going through the simulated-based exercises, it's to level the playing field of the group before they move over into the next room. And the next room is our blue room, right? So the blue room here, and you can see it's just set up just a little bit differently from the rows of the classroom style. This has computers down one side, and you can see the back of the monitors just a little bit over the wall there, and the students face each other, right? So in this room here, this is where, as we're talking about the white team, red team, the red team is actually launching attacks. This is now where either the students or the client's cybersecurity team or training to be client cybersecurity team are in this room, and they're learning how to identify an attack, mitigate an attack, and look for the next part, right? Because this is where the emulation part comes in, right? A hacker does not go step 1, step 2, step 3. A hacker will start at step 6 and go back to step 1 and jump to step 5 and go all over the place. They'll show you misdirection. They'll deface the website because they want you to just waste time fixing that while they're actually doing stuff in another area, right? So in this part, now in the physical arena, the students are sitting in there, they're working together, right? And they're communicating, learning how to work together as a team. In the virtual arena, it's the same thing. So in this class, in this part of the class, the other part of proprietary software we have, it's called Tactus. Now, Tactus allows the students to communicate together, but also it allows the white team manager to communicate with the students, like, hey, have you noticed this? Have you looked here? Right? Because there's a certain time frame of where you should be identifying these attacks. And if not, in the classroom, your reputation score is dropping, just as it would in the real world, right? If you remember the Sony hack years ago, they didn't handle things properly. They didn't identify things in a certain period of time. So they were, your reputation score would drop. The other thing it allows the white team manager to do in here is work with the red team. So the red team is ex-Israeli Defense Force hackers. These guys have been doing this for a number of years. The point of this exercise is not just them to go in and beat you up. It's a learning experience, right? That's what the whole part of this is. As Ronan talked about the bullets flying at you, he shot 10,000 bullets before he ever got in a real world scenario. Same thing. Once he was doing all that, he was training together as a team. So when they moved out into the field, they worked as one cohesive unit. That's the same goal in here, right? So the white team manager, if an attack is going too quick, if the team is not finding it in a short period of time, he will work with the red team to slow down. Don't launch the next attack yet. Don't move on, right? Because it's not about just them going in, beating you up and going, oh yeah, you know what? I do need some more cybersecurity training. It's about learning everything and moving on from it. And let me just show you, the other room is the red room here. Actually, the utility room is going to pop up what Ronan was showing you red. So this is a little bit better of a picture than what Ronan was showing you with the students in front of it. The cabinet all the way to the right here is the industrial control systems at different PLCs, as Ronan was saying. Allen Bradley, Schneider Electric, GE's in there. The middle cabinet here is the power distribution. So when we launch an attack in either the virtual arena or in the worldwide cyber warfare arena like this, we're damaging real equipment, right? We're locking out computers with ransomware. We're trying to bring down a power grid. We're trying to emulate an attack as much as possible. Even if it's financial services, in the Israel office, we have a ATM machine. So it might be something as silly as popping money out of an ATM machine, but that is a worry to a bank, right? It's another exploit of where an attack scenario can happen. So the middle cabinet there, right? When we run in an attack, you'll hear the controllers opening up and trying to bring down the power grid. All the way to the left there, is the water will come rushing out. You have the turbine spinning high, spinning low, and as Andre can tell you, he's been there before in the New York City office when we walked through there, and we were in that room for probably about 5 or 10 minutes talking about it. It gets pretty warm when that turbine starts spinning high and spinning low in there. And that's what we're trying to do, is damage real equipment. I'm just going to fast forward it real quick. This is the other part of what Ronan was talking about here, right? So this emulates the power generation as they're going to see it. Now, where the OT engineer is sitting here in this type of environment, they're looking at the screen, they're seeing that the boiler is the correct temperature, the turbine is spinning the correct speed. But right behind them, they hear the water gushing out, they hear the turbine spinning high and spinning low. So they're communicating with their team that's in the blue room and letting them know something's wrong. So then they know to start looking in that area for it. And to be honest with you, if your hacker has gotten into this point in your power generation, you're pretty much game over. They now have control of your system. They really have you, whether it's ransomware, whether they're trying to make chaos and bring down the system, they have you at this point. But this is so, as you can see, it's trying to emulate the environment as much as possible. If this was for, say, an airport, we might be simulating radars up there, so putting blips on the screen, taking blips off the screen, turning runway lights on and off, right? Really causing chaos there. If it was a hospital, there might be IoT devices, databases that they're trying to hack to get personal information. but also IoT devices where we might be making a blood pressure machine or a heart monitor read a different rate from what the person really is at, right? So it's all the operational equipment. Now this is in the worldwide cyber warfare arena, right? In the virtual environment, you're really getting more of the IT stuff that we're attacking there. Just going to show you two other rooms. So this here is the red room, right? In the worldwide cyber warfare arena, the red team does have their own room that they sit there and launch the attacks from. In the remote cyber training or virtual arena, right? They're going to be remote at that point, right? But chaos, what Ronan had showed you very briefly on the screen before, and this is part of it here, that's what ties all of our arenas together, right? It's a system that we design, and what it does is it's where, as an attack happens, we reverse engineer it, as you mentioned, and it gets loaded up into chaos, right? So as we're launching different attacks within the arena, that's where we're doing it from. But it also sits there and goes through the different stages, and that's why I paused it on this screen, right? So it's different stages of an attack, showing you how it moves, where they're caught. From a company standpoint or a government standpoint, you know, for private group training, this is really good where a manager might sit in there with the hacker in a real world environment, and they'll be able to see how they're going through the stages compared to how their team is reacting, right? In the virtual environment, obviously, they're not going to be in the same room to it, but this is just to show you kind of how that part works and how the different stages work. Last part there of our New York City arena that I'll show you is our Security Operations Center, right? That part is, so as students are going through, learning to be a SOC analyst, we can get them into the real thing there, get them into the real room to try it. Also for our New York City office, if you had a big event in the area and you needed to do, a company needed to use a pop-up SOC, have an area, we can use it for that as well. But just to kind of show you what that part is, I'm going to show you one other video. So this is the arena as it is. What I want to show you now is the actual an attack, right? So in the remote cyber training platform, that room, how I just walked you through the New York City office, is the actual arena. So you come into the New York City office, you're going to Melbourne, Australia, you're going to Israel, you're going to the Netherlands, right? You're in a physical arena. Those are the rooms, and you kind of move through it. So now, as a remote cyber training or the virtual arena that we're talking about for the Caribbean, it's the same type of rooms, it's just in a virtual environment. But what I want to show you here is what does that student experience look like, right? So from this part here, this is, you're physically remoting into the Israel office, the Melbourne office, the New York City office. You have a computer. It's still going to be instructor-led training from someone from the white team, such as Ori, right? There's, depending on the class that you're in, there's still going to be real attacks launched from the red team. You're going to be working as one cohesive unit to mitigate them, identify and mitigate them, and move on to the next. So I'm just going to jump through a couple parts here so you can understand how this modality works and how it's just a little bit different. So this is just a sign-in screen of what you're logging into. Right? I'm just going to kind of play it through so you can kind of see where it is. I'm actually going to mute it because the voice doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to kind of fast forward just to show you a couple different spots of it. So again, this is here the different stages of an APT, right? Advanced persistent threat. This is how everything moves through. This is understanding how a hacker works. So what we're getting through here now is just to show you kind of the demo. I'll give you the background, right? So what this is showing, as we keep on talking about how the world has changed because of COVID now, you know, businesses have had to change just as much as we've had to change as individuals, and not just, you know, the social distancing and wearing the mask, but now businesses have more people working remote than they ever had before. I have friends that work for large financial services companies in New York City that they're not going back to January 1st. These are companies that own entire buildings, right? You know, that are empty right now. And even when they go back, they're not going back full boat. You know, they'll go back in for meetings. You know, they've now noticed that everyone can work remotely. Zoom meetings, Microsoft Teams, whatever it might be, they've realized that they don't necessarily need that space. So as everything is changing, right? And everybody is working remotely. The next demo I'm going to show you is exactly that. It's from COVID-19 and it's the workforce. So the scenario of what they're doing, I'll show you kind of the different things. This is just screenshots. But so in a class for this, you would actually be learning how to identify the different stages of an attack, what happens, and move on. But to give you kind of a quick background, just for time constraints, what it is a person's working remotely. They have their company laptop, and as we know, we're never supposed to. We're not supposed to check our personal email. We're not supposed to shop on our company laptop, but everybody does, right? But even so, even if you don't, an attacker knows everyone's remote now. They might have found you by, your LinkedIn profile, by Facebook, whatever it might be that you're working remote. They see that you're in HR. They send you a PDF because everybody in HR gets a million PDFs a day, right? And then there's, the ransomware that's connected to it, or the malware that's connected to it. So what you're going to see here is the employee ends up opening up that PDF. They don't realize that anything's wrong with it, right? But it launches the attack on the backside. So then the next time what happens is, now when the person VPNs into their system, the hacker then piggybacks onto that into the network, right? And now they're in your company network and they can do what they want. And this is what's kind of go through here. So I'm just going to kind of play this through so you can understand it. But this is a very fast forwarded part of what actually happens. This would be almost a full day of training that you're going through to do all these different stages. But this is just kind of a shortened screenshot version to show you what the student experience would be for something like this. Now, I'll unmute this part so you can hear.
You will see exploitation and basically have the.
And this here is just another screenshot of chaos, right? As we were talking about earlier. And I'll stop it again towards the end of this, but you'll see how all the different attacks are running. But this is where the red team is launching the attack as just as a normal hacker would. They have all their files there, so they're launching an attack when they have control.
Experience to see. So this is the dashboard. This is the beginning of the APT. I'm not sure that we will see attachment of PDF in this case.
So they are downloading the PDF, as they said.
And as you can see, just open the Adobe Acrobat Reader, and basically nothing look suspicious at this stage. It look like, okay, I get an email. So nothing happened here on the victim machine, but if we look at the process, we will see that there is some malicious things inside. So at this stage, we're gonna advise them, ask them to open the process and to see if they have any suspicious process. About, let's say, bills and PO and so on and so on. If you're talking about HR, they're getting a lot of documents of.
And the thing is, right, so as Ronan talked about the different training programs we have, right, and you guys, I'm sure most of you are probably already in IT and thinking about making that move into the cyber side of it. That's part of where the training goes through, right? So there's a succession plan. Ronan talked about the different programs, right, but it really starts with the Cyber Guardian. So if you're from IT and you're looking to make that move, the Cyber Guardian goes through a lot of the stuff. It teaches you what you're looking at here, how to identify the different stages, right? The different tools that you'll be using in these parts as you're getting into your career. Then you would get into like maybe a SOC analyst role, maybe moving into incident response team, digital forensics, at the high part, right? So if you work for a government agency or a big corporation, which, I don't know if there's a corporation really big enough in the Caribbean that would have their own red team, but, maybe a government agency would, defense contractors or defense forces. But we even have red team training. And the red team training is, where you're training that red team personnel to do penetration testing on your networks to make sure it's secure. That where we're giving them that really that hacker mindset that they're going into, and they're testing it, ethical hacking, and they're testing your own network to make sure that there is no risk, so less likely to have an attack come on.
Docs, PDF for resume and so on. So in this situation, once the attacker gets inside, he will try to use what we call.
So this here, in as we were talking about chaos again, this is showing you the different stages of what everything is going through. Again, different stages from chaos, right? This is where it really tracks everything. And the last part here is going to be your, so you log in to your VPN, right? And then they don't realize that anything's going wrong with it. Everything looks right. But what it is the hacker is now capturing your credentials so they can go in. And this is where you're logging in. They have it captured. They now have access to your network. They launch everything. Here's them launching the ransomware. Just to show you, right? CYBERGYM, you've been hacked.
You have this amount of time to give us this amount of money. Otherwise, you're
200 Bitcoins, a year and a half ago would have been a lot more money than it is today, but still, you get the idea. This is just to show you, it's very quick, I know that part, but this is to show you kind of the student experience, what you would be walking through, what you would be working as a team to help identify and mitigate, right? Because the thing about all the training classes is, the learning experience, making sure that you have the knowledge set to go in and help your organization, or when you get a job in cybersecurity, be able to work day one, because you have history experience of emulated attacks to help when there is a cyber attack, you can help identify it and mitigate it, kind of move on. The other thing, right, so I just want to kind of touch on training programs. Briefly talked about it. You have the different stuff from the Cyber Guardian up, through the different areas, but there's a lower part that Ronan was touching on. You have your online awareness training platform that we have. This is more of an e-learning, but this is where everybody in the organization, everybody that touches a computer, this is increasing your cybersecurity knowledge set, right? So what is a phishing email? How to identify, someone was telling us the other call we were on the other day, where they got an email from DHL, but they didn't realize in the URL that it was DHLL.com. So they clicked on it, it brought them there, they put in their information, and then again, they got, they were victim to, malware getting on their computers that someone needed to go in and clean out. I was talking with Deidre the other day. I had a junk mail where someone in, I forget what country it was, needed me to help them get their $44 million out of the country. But it's understanding sort of stuff. So the online awareness platform is crucial from an organizational standpoint of getting everybody the cybersecurity knowledge, because the human factor is their first line of defense, right? Everybody that touches a computer, that is your first line of defense in an organization. So increasing the skill set in there is very important. The next part is, what we've just talked about from the training for your cybersecurity teams, everything from the IT side of it, as Ronan showed you, and I showed you within the tour of the New York City office, the operational environments, industry-specific equipment. Then you also have the very high-end, as I touched on briefly, for the C-level executives. So your crisis management, your cyber strategy, setting up those policies and procedures, and then continuing to test them. I think that's really it from the training standpoint. The services standpoint, CYBERGYM also has services, but we're talking about training here on that aspect of it. We can go into that separately if anybody is interested in services such as penetration testing, vulnerability assessment. But that's really it from the training aspect, Deidre. So I'm going to give it back to you.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your presentations and really delving into what CYBERGYM does. So I know oftentimes we say, how do I choose the organization or the company that would be best for me to do my cyber training? What sets you above the others? And as you can see from how they go through their arena, they are very hands-on in their training. It's not a training that does, as Ronan and Kevin said, that deals with just slides. What they're doing, they're putting you in the environment to learn, and then as you learn, they have their ethical hackers. That's the person that teaches you, that they go in and send you attacks so that you are learning and under that pressure that you would have if you were to undergo a real life attack. So they're training you with real life scenarios. So Dr. Thomas, would you like to say anything?
Yes, good morning to everybody. I'm so glad that you joined us. I really believe that the training that is offered by CYBERGYM is poised to add significant value to the region. And there are levels of training that we have now decided to roll out within the region, which Deidre Leacock would like to share more with you. And we're just happy to come alongside you and develop your cybersecurity capacity and help create a shield, a cyber shield within the region. Okay, thank you. And they're definitely ready for any of your questions. And so, David, if you could just share about the different programs that we offer.
We have 2 questions before we share. It says, is there a progressive program to follow with costs? That's our first question.
So
Yes.
Progressive program as in training or services or both? I mean, the answer is yes, and costs can always be shared, yes. But just a little bit more, are you looking for kind of from a group training aspect, individual training aspect? There you go, training. So from a training aspect, yeah, so that's what Deidre is going to share in about a second here. But even when you look at that, as I was talking about the different levels of our training programs, 0 to hero programs, you know, cyber guarding is what starts. So what Deidre is going to show you is from our online awareness to everybody that should take it that touches a computer. And then the group of classes she's going to show you starts part of the cyber guarding. If there's a need there for yourself, your company that you work with, to go into something further, such as SOC analysts, incident response training, digital forensics, we could just take that conversation offline.
Okay, so I'll share my screen and go through what we have available, and we'll continue with our questions. Yes? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So really what we start with as a build out, we start with our online awareness training. So essentially what that is, our online awareness is for everybody. As we have now began to migrate towards a remote working environment, as Ronan mentioned, even post-COVID, we would still need to adapt to some being at work and some being at home. What that environment now creates, with you're in your office, there's a level of security that your team and your business would have set up to secure what you have there. When you're at home, your vulnerability becomes a lot greater. And as Kevin was speaking of that person that sent him trying to get money out of another country, if you can help, you're going to have those emails frequently just for persons trying to get into your system and see what's going on and ask for ransomware. What we've decided to do then is provide online awareness training. This training is across the board within the organization. So from your secretary to executive management, just so everyone is on the same page with an understanding of what to look out for. This is what we're going to be offering through these modules. Now the modules have 3 segments to it. There's the awareness section, there is the knowledge part of it, and then there's the best practices. So at each level, there's a little test that you take. The videos are no longer than 3 to 4 minutes, so that we understand that, yes, this person has just not looked at the slides, but they've grasped the information they've had, and they understood the concepts that they can now begin to move forward. So as we said, it's going to be 36 modules. We're going to break it out into 4. We have your phishing, your passwords, your social media, that fake news, malware, the social engineering, critical scenarios, those USBs. You take your USB from one place, it has a virus, you put it into your work computer. And those, as simple as it may seem, those are the things that easily affect us. Our phone scams, the sneaky Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, we always know when you're in an area or you're trying to check your banking, your online banking, and they tell you this network is not secure. Stuff like that. What are we going to do in those areas? Even for e-commerce, your real life scams, what do we do in these cases? And at each level, you take a short test to ensure that, yes, I know what I'm doing, I know what to avoid so that I don't cause any threat towards my company. So that's on the online awareness spectrum. Now for the online awareness is $200 US per student, and you have 1 year of access to this program. So for 200 US, you can take this course. It can take you a year. I imagine as an individual, you may have stuff to do. You may need to take a little longer to do it for our organization perspective, so that you know that your employees are going through this process as efficient and as quickly as possible, so that they have the tools to really migrate. If they have to migrate to a remote learning environment, that you know that my team is aware and trained within this area, that they don't make these errors to put our organization in jeopardy. So that's the first level of defense, where the entire organization really has an understanding of what to look for in these times. As we know, COVID has presented greater opportunities, persons losing their jobs, everyone is trying to look for a way to make money. Some, however, are looking for illegal ways to make money, and we want to make sure that our companies do not become subject to those things. Now, what Kevin would have described, essentially...
Just to add one thing to that?
Sure.
So the one thing also with the online awareness training, right, as the region, increases their cybersecurity skill set, that online awareness training program will become part of organization's new hire program. So as you bring someone into the organization, just as you want to make sure that they know how to put their time off in their HR file, that they understand Excel, Word, and Outlook, right? And that all becomes part of the new hire training programs. This will become part, or I see this will become part of that as well. And then it'll be kind of that continuing education once a year where you go through it, because again, you want to make sure that your company has the most recent cyber attacks, phishing scams, stuff like that in there. Thanks, Adrian.
Okay, great. So continuing, what we've done based on our research and our knowledge of what's happening in the region now, we recognize that our cyber literacy is not to the level that we would want it to. And in that case, what we've done, we've broken down, CYBERGYM has a wide range of courses that they offer, but for the purpose of having our organization start where we are at, we need to be realistic about that. We decided that we're going to start with these courses. So our CG, which is really CyberGuardian 101, that certificate in cybersecurity fundamentals, that covers our network security concepts and methodology. Then we have our security monitoring and management as well within that cohort. That's a 4-day course. And these are all the things that you're going to learn. Our level 2, our CG 102, is that certificate in cyber essentials. We have that cyber awareness essential workshop and our cyber threats and defense tools. And then our 3rd level, this is CG 103, that's a certificate in tactical operations. Yes, these are only the ones that we chose to start with based on our research at the level that we are at within the region. These are the ones that we chose to start with, but most definitely these are not what we are limited to. So in terms of our programs, this is how our programs start at each program. So that CG 101, if you wanted to be a part of this course, that is $1,800 US. Now, by no means does this imply the level of training that you would have? Because if you were to take this course within the arena in New York or any of our arenas, this course would cost you between $4,500 to $7,000 US. So what they've done, and we've been gracious to CYBERGYM, they've allowed us, understanding what our heart is and our vision is for the region, to have 1% of each country trained to give us grace that we are able to build out this program in the way that we need to across the region. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell what we started with. Of course, we do have courses as well for our executive management. We know that they're going to be the decision makers. As Ronan was speaking, he was talking about what happens in an attack and how do you expect our management teams to respond? At what time do you go to the media? What is shared with the media? These are the things that we're going to be talking about when you go through your sessions. I want to jump over now to our question and answers. We have a few questions that I want that we're able to answer for our participants. So one of our questions was, does CYBERGYM offer training on data protection practitioners and implementers?
So basically, yes. When you talk about data protection, there are several phases that the user has to go through. First of all is to understand the risk, to understand the assets that he owns, to understand that the risk that these assets are exposed to, and then to do the vulnerability assessment, and then to go through the data protection process, training the team after on the security level after the data protection has been made, and then eventually do the risk assessment and go through the whole process from A to Z. So we have the capabilities, first of all, to assist with the risk assessment, with the vulnerability assessment, mapping your assets and so on, from or maybe doing it for you, or also just evaluating re-evaluating what you have done so far. Afterwards, we have the capabilities to perform online training for your employees, to give them the skill set and the knowledge and the capabilities to better protect your data or the whole system, the whole assets that you own. On top of all of that, we built a whole program, taking your, we call it a zero to hero, where you take people, your IT managers, your security managers, from the basic level that they have to become experts in cybersecurity and giving the optimal protection to your system. It is a course, it is a training of several weeks, even more than that in some cases, that gives all the knowledge and all the capabilities that a data protector in the organization has to know in order to optimize the security level of the organization. I'm not sure whether this was the answer to the question. Let me know if you have any more question about that.
Someone answered as well. I think we answered that question though. Is this training available for individuals or organizations? And what are the prerequisites for application? The training is available to both individuals and organizations. If an organization decided that they just wanted to train their own staff, we can have that. It doesn't have to be with another organization. We can tailor training specifically to you, and we can have individuals joining the team as well. For or as it relates to prerequisites, we know that some of you may or may not have previous cyber experience, but to make sure that we're all on a level playing field, that there will be some questions that we would ask you upon that registration, so that we know that you won't be lost in the class or you won't be at a disadvantage.
And Deidre, just to add to that, right? So as you talk about the difference of what an individual training is versus, you know, a corporate training or for a specific client, right? In the individual classes, right, you have people come from all walks of life, all different industries, and you're teaching to kind of like a specific path, right? And everyone kind of, they go through with the same knowledge set. When you talk about specific, right, you know, as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, Ori, the white team manager, right? So if we're doing something, let's just say it's for a bank, maybe it's a government agency, right? Whatever it is, when we figure out what the right training program is for them, the white team manager, you know, as you saw on the screen before, Ori, that was in front of the classroom, he's going to then work with that point of contact on what are the current cyber policies and procedures they use in the organization, what are the tools and technologies that you're using, right? And they're going to really get to know the client a lot more and what the goals of the outcome are. They're also going to be able to, you know, change what the attack scenarios might be that they're going through, change the case studies, right? They really are able to customize the training to that specific client of what the goals are. And then as we do it, you know, the thing about CYBERGYM, this is not, the goal is not a one and done training. We're looking to partner with organizations, individuals for the long term, right? Because cybersecurity is always changing. So we're really becoming a part of your organization and kind of like an external preferred vendor of where we're going to grow together. So as the training programs grow, everything's getting adapted, new programs are coming in, new attacks are coming in, and the teams keep learning. So that's the biggest difference between the individual to the private training, right? The private training, there's a lot more customization that goes on. It's a lot more tailored to what their specific goals are.
Great. Is there training on ISO standard auditing and implementation?
So the answer is yes. We don't educate on the ISO standard. On the other hand, what we do to our clients is take them hand by hand and help them to deploy the ISO 27000 standard, for example, optimally in the organization, making sure that they haven't missed anything, making sure that they are compliant, and when they go through the auditing, they will pass easily. And we can do it with them, we can do it for them, we work with them hand in hand. Just the ISO 27000 standard, we don't do a specific training for that, but we can help you go through this process.
Okay, great. I believe this person is trying to ask about building a CERT team.
So for the incident response team, yes, we have a training in the portfolio that I'm sure that Deidre will share with you afterwards, maybe. We have a specific training for incident response teams. The basic ones, where we take the incident response team and train them again with bullets flying over their heads in real life attack scenarios and making sure that they respond optimally. We also have more advanced capabilities for people who are, usually every team is built from the subject matter experts and the whole staff. We take it for the subject matter experts maybe and take them even one level further to become the knowledge center of this team. Those training are usually like 5 days where you take and you train them by many attack scenarios happening to them. Endlessly. We also have the understanding that incident response team. I'm sure that any user that has an IRT brought them to the level that he wants, but it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to maintain the operational level of the team because they don't experience too many attacks on a day-to-day basis. So what we can do is also give you an external consultancy services, managed services, just to support the incident response team on a day-to-day basis, on an hourly basis, based on your requirements. If you were attacked, you need assistance in managing the attack or to analyze the attack or to respond to it, we can help you as an external advisors to optimally respond to it.
Great. Is there a certification track comparable to professional certification bodies?
So the answer is yes, but it's divided to two parts. One is that we are working, Kevin is laughing because every time I tell you the answer is yes, but divided to many parts. So firstly, we have a certification program that we take people from the basic knowledge level that they have and we turn them to experts in cyber. We call this this program either a zero to hero or a certification training program. When you finish, you get a stamp from us and a diploma that you graduated from this program. As for the international organizations, I cannot mention right now because we are in very developed stages, but it's still under work in progress. We are working with two organizations, global ones, that will give a stamp and an approval for our training to be a part of their eligible global certified training programs that they deliver worldwide. Now, yeah, basically the answer is yes.
Great. What other critical infrastructure protection training do you offer for C-levels?
So for the C-level, wait, I lost the question. Oh, there it is. For the C-level, as I said, we believe that C-level executives do not need to know the bits and bytes of the attack when it comes in. They will not program the line in the computer to make sure that in the SOC to make sure that it's blocked. The decision making that they do is strategic for the organization, making sure that it continues to operate and with minimal impact on the organization. We usually take the executives to a boot camp of either it could be half a day in the organization premises or online or any other solution, all the way to 3 days, where we take them and we walk them through attack scenarios that are known to their organization. Attacking as a ransomware, phishing method that has turned into stealing their confidential data and so on. And in each and every stage, we just have a discussion on the different aspects that they need to analyze. As I said earlier, who should be in the red team? What should be the KPIs for the red team when he starts operating? What should he block? What will he handle? And so on. What should we report to the media? When should we report to the media? Who should be the leader of the red team? Is it the CEO? Is it the CISO? Is it the CIO? Is it someone who is called a cyber guardian, which is the right-handed person of the CEO in many cases? Many questions. Are the procedures that you wrote, are they working or not? Is there something missing that you need to fix or not? All of those things are being handled and discussed. Again, it can be a half a day and it can be 3 days. It all depends on the discussion and the engagement of the customer at this stage.
Okay. Are the Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs ISAC accredited?
So that goes back to 2 questions ago that I said that I cannot share the name of the organizations that we are working with to certify our solution. So it's work in progress.
Okay. What would be your recommendation for someone who wants to take Tier 1 and Tier 2 training? How do they coordinate the training if focusing on it full time?
I can answer that one there. So it depends on whether we're talking about the Tier 1, Tier 2 of the online awareness platform, or if we're talking about the CG 101, CG 102, right? So if it's the remote cyber training platform, that is the CG 101, CG 102, we're going to be working together with Adrian and Andre on creating a schedule, right? So it would be that, maybe the week of August 1st and then September 10th, just pulling dates out of the air here. Those might be when the Tier 1 and Tier 2 classes are offered. If you're talking about the online awareness platform, it's more up to your pace, right? So you do have access to that for a full year. So it's more of how dedicated you are to getting those done in the time frame and how much time you have to do them. I think as Deidre mentioned earlier, the videos are not 90 minutes long, right? They're each lesson is probably 3, you might get one that's maybe 10 or 12 minutes, right, to go through stuff, but they're short little snippets so you can move on and move through. So you could do a module a day very easily, and then there's 12 modules per level, right? So you can get through it in a very short time frame. But so short answer, online awareness is up to you. The remote cyber training platform, we're going to be putting together a schedule for individuals to register for. If it's from a corporate standpoint, we would work with you on what times work best for your organization and put something together for you.
Okay. Then our last question we have here, with regards to training, which security framework is it based on?
So we actually work on several frameworks. For example, NIST, the NIST. We work on the ISO standards and so on. We comply with the major ones in the market. Again, NIST, I think, covers the majority of the users that we know.
And just to add to something to that, what Ronan's saying, the different frameworks, right? It also depends on when you're talking about a specific client, what standards are they held to? So, in the US here, power generation is held to different standards than a hospital, right? So there's different things that get followed, and that's the part of where that customized training for the businesses, and we're talking about the white team manager working with the client on that, they find those things out.
I don't see us having any more questions. Does anyone have any last comments, anything that they would like to share?
There was a question in the chat, Deidre. Does a person need to have a computer or IT degree to start? I believe we haven't responded it. So basically, our training programs are designed to fit the different knowledge levels of the users, and it all depends on where you want to go and where would you like to be when you finish your training, cyber training. I would say that if we talk about cyber experts, SOC analysts, and so on, the request to have an IT degree usually doesn't come from our not as our prerequisite, but from the company that would hire the person that would ask to have this degree as a background. Now, in terms of knowledge, it all depends. Again, we have a training which is called Zero to Hero, where we give all the cyber knowledge of the people, assuming that they have basic IT knowledge. They don't need to be IT experts or to have a bachelor degree in IT, but they need to have basic IT knowledge. And when we talk about the awareness program, needless to say, the background is relevant because we talk to the common criteria, to the common knowledge base of all employees. So the answer is it depends. It depends on which track you choose, but it's not mandatory to have a degree.
Thank you so much, Ronan. Dr. Thomas, would you like to say anything?
Yes, I want to thank CYBERGYM for a really great presentation, and we look forward to working with the actual participants of this webinar to find the right solutions for you and for your company. So we are open, Deidre Leacock can be reached, and we look forward to starting this cyber security development journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. At this time, I would like to thank all of our panelists and our presenters, Ronan from out of Israel. We know that our time difference, but you're still always available to us. Kevin, out of our New York City office, our CEO, Dr. Thomas, and to you, our participants. We're glad that you've joined us today and you've learned more about what we can provide. This is not a selfish vision. The vision really is a regional vision and a vision to have, as a region as a whole, for us to have a cyber shield within the Caribbean. We know that sometimes when attacks happen, we're trying to get persons from overseas, they're not always available. We have to make sure as a region that we train our people, that we're able to defend what we have. This is vitally important for us now. It was vitally important before, it's even more important now in the environment that we're operating in COVID and post-COVID as well. We're going to operate in a new normal, and we can't continue really to operate as we were before. So as our Dr. Thomas and our CEO said, I will be available at your convenience. My email would be that CICCD@CaribbeanIsraelCoalition.org. That's CICCD@CaribbeanIsraelCoalition.org. I can also be reached at 246-251-9836. I know that many of you may have some more questions. You may not have want to ask them online. We're free to set up some calls with you to see how we can tailor-make what you need for this season going forward in cybersecurity. We want to thank you all for joining us today. We're happy that you've joined us, and we hope that what we've shared here today has been a little bit more enlightening for you. If you didn't know what we were going to do as it relates to cybersecurity and how you can get involved, always remember that you have a part to play in your country's defense. If this needs to be a career switch for you, you said, you know what, I want to go into this area. This at this time is the best use of my gifts and my talents. This is what I'm going to invest my time in. We welcome you. So we want to thank you again for joining our webinar today. We hope to hear from you soon. We definitely will be reaching out to you. So from all of us at CYBERGYM and Caribbean Israel Venture Services, Inc., we thank you and do enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thank you.